Barcelona fans worldwide, welcome back to the Kula Cast. I am your host, Jude. Today we're doing a match preview for the upcoming Supercopa semifinal versus Athletic Club. I'm very excited for this match. I think it's going to be a great match. They got a great opponent coming up, and I think it's going to be a challenge for them, but I am very hopeful that they're going to pull through and prevail in this matchup, and they have every reason to. They are the better squad, in my opinion. For this match preview, we're going to go over the pre-match comments, pre-match press conference from Hansi Flick, and some things that stood out from that. And then we'll also do an article roundup just to see what the stories around the team are. Starting first with the pre-match press conference. One of the privileges that we English-speaking fans of Barcelona have is maybe for the first time ever, we have a coach who does all his press conferences in English. So that allows me to be able to listen to these press conferences, and I feel like I always get a little bit something out of it, a little tidbit that kind of tells me what Hansi Flick's mental space is and how he's thinking about the team, and usually kind of foreshadows some things for the upcoming game. So it's really a privilege to be able to have such access and such inclusivity around the Blaugrana. Maybe that will change in the near future when his Spanish gets better. If it does, then I'm kind of cooked. But for now, I'm very much enjoying this ability to be able to listen and get some insight directly from the coach himself. So I'll kind of get into some of the moments that stood out for me. First one, we'll talk about Joao Cancelo and his potential rejoining of Barcelona. One of the comments that Hansi Flick had that stood out to me is he envisions Joao playing both sides. I think this is going to be amazing, and it is one of the abilities that he has is he can play both left back and right back, and I think he's going to provide a tremendous amount of support for our two starters, Balde and Jules Koundé, and maybe he might even start some games as well. But I think it's going to be a huge addition. I can't wait to see how he plays and does link up play with those two wingers, Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. I think it's only going to benefit the side. He also mentioned that the deal is not done, and he emphasized this. And I think that's completely fair, until papers are signed and there's a photo up, introductory photo up, and press conferences, then you can't really consider these things done. Anything can happen, but it is looking good, and we are hopeful that he's able to join the side. Hansi Flick also interestingly mentioned that Joao might have an offensive role. I'm not really sure what that means. I mean, he has shown the ability to be able to play in more attacking roles if needed to and if called upon. But with the wealth of wingers that we have right now, not that many, but pretty solid ones, I can't really see that being a need for this team. But we'll see. We'll see if what he means by that and what he means by him having an offensive role. And then the last thing that he emphasized in this discussion about Joao is he still wants a center back. So that means that this is something that Hansi Flick is still pounding the table for. Just because Joao is coming into the squad does not mean that we are out of the running for a left-sided center back, a left-footed center back. This is something that Hansi Flick still wants, and it's something that he still wants in this January transfer window. So we'll see if there are any developments as the month progresses in that regard. Another thing that he talked about in the game when asked about the upcoming game against Bilbao is he rather pivoted and lamented about the poor performance the team had against Espanyol, particularly defensively, and how they have to improve. I thought this was interesting. I mean, I thought they had a poor performance all around against Bilbao, both attacking and defensively. I thought the service in the Espanyol game, I should say, was poor. And I thought they also had a poor defensive game. But what I appreciated about this comment is After the Espanyol game, he chose to focus in his post-match press conference on just the positivity of having won the match and having won an important matchup against their in-town rivals. But these comments kind of showed me that he was not satisfied with that performance, and he was really looking for the team to and challenging the team to improve their performance in this game. And I hope that that translates, because I do think they'll need to continue to improve, and maybe they were just rusty, it being the first game of the new year against Espanyol, but they do need to improve their quality if they're gonna leave Saudi Arabia with this championship. The next comment that stood out to me is he was very clear and immediate in saying Joan Garcia will be the keeper for this tournament. And what that signaled to me is they're not playing around, they're not messing around. They want to win this. You might think that they might be tempted to, play Ter Stegen or Tech, and I'll talk about Ter Stegen later, for a Supercopa, just to rotate the goalkeepers. But Hansi Flick is all about winning this tournament. He wants to win this tournament, and if you wins, you got to play the guy. You got to play him, Joan Garcia, who is out of this world and gives you every chance to win when he's back there. He also mentioned that they're still evaluating Araujo and his ability to be available for the game tomorrow. He said he'll have a conversation with Araujo in order to determine this. But it kind of seemed like it was leaning towards Araujo will not play tomorrow. But it was a positive that he traveled with the team and he is training with the team. So maybe he might be available if they win tomorrow and are able to advance to the final. Maybe he might be available for the final this weekend. But I really hope that Araujo comes back from his mental health break, an improved player, and he's able to regain form, because he was such a tremendous player for this team not that long ago. Just a couple of years ago, he was one of their most important players and had so much potential, and such high hopes for him as a stalwart in this defense. So hopefully he can regain that form and provide a meaningful contribution for this team for the rest of the season. And then when he was asked about his preferred midfield, the first thing that he mentioned that I thought was so interesting is he would prefer Eric Garcia to play regardless of what the formation is. So regardless of if he's, or regardless of where Eric is playing. So regardless of if he's playing in that midfield or he's playing at center back. This kind of signaled to me that Eric Garcia has cemented his position as a starter in this team. I think he is unquestioned one of the first names on the team sheet that Hansi Flick puts down, which is tremendous for this player who has gone through such a journey, and to have this arc where he went from being doubted and sometime to a certain extent not really wanted in the squad previously, to going on loan to Girona and then coming back, and now he's one of their unquestioned leaders and one of their most solid performers game in, game out. I'm really happy for him. And I think what that means for the team is that someone's going to have to drop to the bench, regardless of if it's a center back or a midfielder, for Eric Garcia to play. How I envision this happening is most likely for big games, it's going to be Eric Garcia playing next to Pedri in that double pivot. And you're going to have Kubarsi back there, and preferably with a left-footed center back, whether that's Gerard Martin or if they're able to acquire a starter in this January transfer window. I think maybe for games against less formidable opponents, you might see Eric Garcia slide back into that center back position, either for Pau Kubarsi or another center back, and then you have Frankie and Pedri playing that double pivot. Hansi did comment that he really, really appreciates that pairing of Frankie and Pedri together and their ability to hold the ball and control the game together. But as you know and I know and Hansi knows, this team is gonna die not by their attacking prowess, but they're gonna be done in by their defense. That's what happened last season, and is what is probably most likely to do them in this season if they end up not winning any of the championships they're vying for. And what Eric Garcia does is kind of provide a little bit more support for that defense, a little bit more protection for that defense, and that's why I believe that Hansi would prefer Eric Garcia to play in midfield. And unfortunately, that means Frankie likely comes in as a second half option in big games, unless they're able to get a really formidable left-footed center back and that defense improves. Then maybe they might return to that Frankie Pedri pairing as their preferred formation for big games. But yeah, Eric Garcia is too valuable right now. He's become one of the most important and most trusted players by Hansi Flick, and it's a tremendous story for him. And I hope he keeps it going and he stays in tremendous form that he is right now. So yeah, I'll pivot from those comments and I'll kind of more go over some article roundup, some of the stories that are surrounding the team right now. I always like to look at what articles are out there about the team leading up to matches. They're not always trusted. They're not always accurate, I don't think. They're not, sometimes it's opinions and people guessing and insinuating, or maybe it's just like hopeful wishing a little bit from some of these articles. But I do think as a whole, it helps you understand what some of the narratives around the team is and what the noise or the entorno, as sometimes they call it, is regarding Blaugrana. And I think sometimes you do get some tidbits that do end up to be true. And so it's just always interesting. And it's always a talking point for this team. So the first article I'm going to go over is one that talked about Ter Stegen and confirmed that he was injured in training and has returned to Barcelona for further evaluation. He will miss the Supercopa, and Diego Kochen was called up to replace him and will be traveling to Jeddah. This is very unfortunate for Ter Stegen. He had just gotten back to health and he had had a solid performance. That being said, against like a third or fourth division side, I believe, but it was still a great performance, and he had some good saves in there. So I was really hoping that he could stay healthy, but yeah, that's so unfortunate for him. I know there's been some noise about him moving potentially to Girona this transfer window. Hansi Flick was actually asked about this. He was asked if any player has mentioned that they want to leave, but likely very hinting at Ter Stegen, and his response was no, which I believe was mostly just coach speak. I do believe that there was probably something to that, but if this injury ends up being a more serious injury that keeps him out for maybe like a couple of weeks or even a month, I think that makes it very unlikely that he leaves this transfer window, which is so unfortunate for him because I know he was really looking to play and get back in form, so he's an option and available to start for Germany this summer. And that's something that he's been waiting such a long time to be that number one keeper for Germany. So it would be so heartbreaking if he doesn't get that opportunity. But we'll continue to monitor that story and see what transpires there. The next article I want to talk about is Leon Goretzka has been said to have interest in joining Barcelona when his contract expires from Bayern Munich this summer. He wants to reunite with Hansi Flick. I think Leon Goretzka, when he's in form, at his best, is a beast of a midfielder. He's a beast of a player. He's still physically imposing, a true box-to-box kind of guy that can provide you everything both going forward and defensively. Hasn't been that for a little bit. He's been a little bit out of form and out of favor at Bayern. But I do think Hansi has that special quality to unlock the best in players. That said, I am not for this move. I think that if they're gonna offer wages this coming summer to players, they have other positions and needs where they need to be doing so, namely striker, a little bit more support in defense, especially if you're not able to get center back this transfer window, and maybe even some reinforcements at the wings. But the one position where they got no problem, they are stacked, is midfield. I mean, they got players for days. Players are scrapping for time. I mean, Casado was such a good player for them last season. He can barely find the field. Mark Bernal has so much potential and he can barely find the field. And that's because they got so many midfielders. So I don't think getting Leon Goretzka, as good of a player as he can be when he's in form, um, necessarily provides any more for this team. And I would rather them see I would rather see them reserve those wages for other positions in need. Um, Last article I'm going to talk about here is it was mentioned that Lamine Yamal did not practice in pre-match training alongside his teammates, but rather had a private session that was monitored by training staff. Apparently, he's been dealing with a stomach bug that has been bothering him since the beginning of the new year, and actually forced him to miss some practices early in the new year as well, but it didn't keep him out of the game against Espanyol. And Mundo is reporting that he is not expected to miss this upcoming match against Bilbao either. And I am very hopeful, especially knowing that this was the same situation that occurred previously before the Espanyol game. So I am hopeful that he will play. And if he can play, they are absolutely going to need him to play. I think he's a big game player. He's a difference maker, in my opinion, which is totally not biased. I think he's the best player in the world. As inconsistent as he can be during games, I think he is such a phenomenal player, and I think that consistency in game is only going to improve as he grows older and more mature. But yeah, I'm hopeful that he recovers fully from this, and this isn't something that continues to linger, but it's leaning likely that he is going to be able to play tomorrow. So yeah, that's my article roundup. I'll have a link to the articles that I reference here in the description for this video, but do let me know what you think. Do you believe that Eric Garcia has earned the right to be one of the first team players in every match? What do you think about the Ter Stegen situation? Are you heartbroken for him? I mean, he was such an important player for this team for such a long time, regardless of what your opinion was, but he was one of their best players, especially during those dark days. So, yeah, I really just hope the best for him, but let me know what you think about that situation. Let me know if you're excited about Joao Cancelo joining this team, and if you think he should even be a starter. Imagine that. I don't know what that would mean for Jules Koundé or Alejandro Balde, and personally, I think that I would prefer those two starting at the left and right back positions. But Joao Cancelo, if he can regain form, is also a very terrific player and a great talent and real threat, especially going forward. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what your score predictions for the game is. Let me know who you're really looking forward to seeing perform or you hope has a really, really good game tomorrow. Hoping that Gerard Maldini plays a great game. I think we'll definitely need him to. But yeah, look forward to the game, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Take it easy.